I'm Dr. Christopher Small. I owner and operator of Clarity Chiropractic. I have my team over here, Dr. Brian Biostic. Is that right? Was I close? Anyways, we work out at Clarity Chiropractic, which is just down the street at Bailey and Sandy Beach. We've been doing these events. Someone reminded me that I'm old, and I've been doing these for like 8 years or something of that nature. But it really is a great opportunity for us to connect with our community, have some fun, share some epic food, right? Because Shuk is my favorite restaurant in the region. One of my favorite of all time because they're just awesome. Chris and his team just do an amazing job. So make sure you thank Amanda on the way out. That's who our server is there. But there's something you really need to understand. By being here alone, you are in probably the top 3% of all people because you're actually doing something. You're actually taking an active step towards improving your health. Most people nowadays just go about their lives not caring, not thinking about what it is and not really putting any perspective in it. They might do things that are healthy. They might have a healthy lifestyle, but they're not being active. They're not going out and learning about things like this. They're not doing A, B, C, D, whatever those things are. So really make sure you take some onus and some thankful. And that really builds our community, right? So, you know, you come here, you learn some good stuff, you go home, you and your family are a little healthier, right? But then the people around you get a little healthier, you get a little bit more work done, things get better, and you can go layers on that. We can get super hippy dippy about that the world is a better place by everyone being here, right? And that might be a little far, but it really is an opportunity to just be better. And so we call this talk How to Avoid Canada's Top 3 Killers. And it's not really about that. What this is about is a way to think about health. That is the biggest thing as a chiropractor I have to offer. I love chiropractic. I love it. I have patients here. I have friends here. We have a huge, awesome group, people I've never met, people I know professionally. But the way you think about your health is by far the most important thing. And if you have a good thought process, a good philosophy, some guts to live that way, if you will, because it's hard in our society, you are going to be better off. And that's what we have to offer. But when we talk about people's health, everyone's walking around here and everyone has an idea. So the first thing I want to ask everybody, and this is interactive, and if you guys don't talk to me, I'm going to come over and I'm going to start picking on people, right? So make sure people are active. And if you need to like nudge your partner and be like, you talk so they don't bug me, I get that. But how do you know if you're healthy? How do we know if we're healthy? How do you measure that? We all know when we're sick, right? How do you know if you're healthy?
Energy levels.
Energy, ooh, I like that. What do you say?
Check with the body composition.
Body composition's probably a good one. Yeah, what else do we got? Give me a few answers.
Waking up alive.
Sorry?
Waking up alive.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Waking up alive. Yeah.
Waking up, that's step one, yeah. I make the joke that that's always step one, but that's like literally step one, right? There's a lot of people waking up every day and they ain't living, right? But most people, you guys have started alluding to it. One of the ones that we said there, body composition. That was that lady right there. So body composition, how you look. That is one of the two ways. There's basically two ways everybody defines. They might use different words, but how you look, right? So I'm going to tell you a story about if you use your measure of how you look as the only measure of health. Now, I think we can all agree that if you are super unhealthy, you have no muscle mass, you're super overweight, you have this problem, that problem, it's going to show that you don't look healthy. But just because you look healthy doesn't mean you are. We had a family friend, and this woman, I've known her. She was actually a personal training client of mine when I was a personal trainer in chiropractic school. And when I graduated, I pushed her off to who is now my wife, because we worked together back then. She was not even anything back then, but anyway, somehow she's still a client of ours, and she's a great friend of ours. This woman always had some stuff, and this woman has been through life. That could be its own little thing about how to get through things. And she finally got to a point where she could really take care of herself, and she was. But she did some things that weren't great. She drank more than she probably should. She's a bit of a heavy smoker, different things like that. But she looked good. She was the fittest she'd ever been. She was training 3-4 days a week. And she just got this nasty little cold, and she had this little thing going on her hip. And long story short, she had cancer, right? She's still fighting it. She's been clear. She's doing awesome right now, just so you guys know. But she looked the best she ever has, at least since she was probably 20, right? This one's almost 70 now. And she looked good. She thought she looked good, right? She if we only use that measure. What are some other reasons? There's the big one that everyone always says, nobody said. Sorry? Aches and pains. Yeah, there it is. I heard the word. How you feel. How you feel, right. So my fun story on that one's another really good one. So this was years ago now. I was laying in bed. It was a Saturday morning. This is not a healthy habit. I had fallen asleep on the couch and I woke up at like 7 in the morning. I went into my bed, I called it, and I passed right. You know that second sleep on a Saturday morning you get? I was out. And I heard my phone ring and it was one of those, oh, whew, what's good? So I pick up the phone, it says home, right? I'm like, okay, what do my parents want? Your dad's had a heart attack. Dad's had a heart attack. We're going to the hospital. Click, it hangs up. Don't ever do that to anybody. Stay on the phone and tell them what's going on. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know if he had dropped dead on the ground. I don't know if what hospital they were going to. But long story short, they were worried about it. He didn't feel terrible. He just something didn't feel right. Now here's the funny thing. A week before, we were joking around. I was hanging out at the house. And he said something about, I made a joke about the household not being overly healthy. And we're talking about going through 2 or 3 Costco bags of chips a week. My mom was smoking about a pack or 2 a day in the house. And this is only a decade ago. She held strong on that one for a long time. And he was like, what are you talking about? I'm not healthy. I feel great, right? That was a Tuesday. On Saturday morning, I got that call, right? He felt great. There's a few different things. That one is you only feel as good as you feel compared to what you know. So if you only ever felt like trash and you feel a little less trashy, you feel pretty good, right? That's one thing. But if we look at different things, these things are processes that build up. Does anybody know what the number one the most common symptom of a deadly heart attack? Who knows it? Sorry? High blood pressure. That would be technically a sign, not a symptom. Yeah, symptoms. Like, what do you feel in your body before you have a heart attack? Heartburn's a very common symptom. What else do we got? Breathing. Yeah, breathing issues, like some heavy breathing and things like. Yeah, you get some aches into the shoulder. So the number one most common symptom for a deadly heart attack, death. 50% of people that die of a heart attack, it's that they're walking down the street, they hit the ground. If you ever watched The Godfather, right? Is it 2? It's in Godfather 2, right? Where, what's his name, passes away in the garden. That's how 50% of deadly heart attacks happen, okay? So that's just an idea that we can't use just those basic measures. There's more to it, right? So with that all being said, what are the 3 top killers in Canada? Heart disease, yes, we'll generally call that cardiovascular disease. Now, I had my stats really good pre-COVID. The stats have gotten gnarly. The numbers are quasi-accurate. I've tried to re-research them. The numbers are high. I'm just going to use my old numbers for argument's sake. But about 75,000 people a year in Canada die of cardiovascular disease. That's heart attacks, strokes, different things like that. And like I said, the number one symptom for a lot of that is you just die. Right? You felt good, you were walking around, you didn't know what was going on. If you use the measure of just how you feel, right, it's not the only thing. Okay? What's the other one? What are the other 2? Diabetes. So no, not diabetes. Diabetes leads to things like coronary heart disease, stroke, it does damage, but diabetes doesn't directly. Yeah, what else do we got? Sorry? Cancer, there we go. We got all the big ones there. So cancer is about 70,000. I think 75 and 70,000. Number 2, right? And again, we gave you some examples of how that all manifests out, right? You don't know it's there. It builds up, and then all of a sudden you find out you have something going on. And the problem is you don't know it until it causes a problem. And by that time, it's not a good thing, okay? So now number 3. This is the fun one because I have not had somebody guess it yet. In nearly a decade of this. No one over here's talked. Someone over in this corner. Give me something over here, people. Sorry? Car accident. No, that's a good one. Good guess, but no. Sorry, obesity would be kind of like diabetes, where it's a indirect measure, causes downhill effects of other things, but that contributes to cancer, heart disease, and just about anything else we'll talk about. Okay, I'm going to give you a point I'm going to give you like a half point on that. It's medication, to be honest with you. So in comparison, about 40,000 people a year die from issues with medication. Now, that includes overdoses, that includes errors. There was a situation, an ex-girlfriend of mine, her mom had broken her hip, and she was in a basement apartment, and I was there, and at like 3 in the morning, we just heard a thud, and we're like, uh-oh, grandma, that's not a good sign. So we run upstairs, she'd broken her hip. She had been on heavy cardiac medication since she was like something like 23 years old. And she was like in her 70s or 80s. And they just lost track of it for about a day and a half, right? And she passed away. That would count in that. Like, it's a medication error. They didn't give her the medications for it. It can be drug interactions. It can be all these different things. But about 40,000 Canadians a year die from medication use, right? Now, that sounds a little shocking, but if we circle back to the beginning of all this, there are medications that absolutely save and change lives. And even some of the medications that air quote kill us have saved our quality of life along the way. So if you look at something like chemotherapies, people don't want to know this, but chemotherapy kills you. It just kills you a lot slower than the cancer will, right? That's not in the stats, but that's a way to think of it. But almost all medications, especially lifestyle medications, they are designed to do one of two things. What do you think? There you go. Make you feel better, or what's really popular now as an example, make you look better. Yeah, because we're trying to cover up all those symptoms, all those things going on are normal. The reason they're there might suck. They suck to experience, right? But if I'm walking around and I step off the curb and I break my ankle, it's supposed to hurt, right? It's your body's way of telling you there is something wrong, right? If you get a cold, what are some of the things that happen when you get a cold? Stuffy nose. Why do you get a stuffy nose?
Your sinuses.
What about your sinuses?
They get clogged up. So.
Why? They're trying to flush out the bacteria, right? The immune response creates the mucus, creates all that gunk. It's doing two things. It's making an unhospitable environment for the intruder, but it's also helping flush things out. There's a purpose to it. It sucks to have a runny nose. It sucks when you wake up and you feel that deep ache behind your eyeballs from everything you're walking around. I used to suffer from horrible allergies, right? You're walking around all day just like, oh, it sucks. But they're there for the right reason, right?
Say, let it run its course.
Let it run its course, right? Another thing, you get a fever. The fever's job is to actually make it so that the viruses can't replicate. They can't replicate in a high heat environment. So your body ups the temperature, right? You get lethargic because the body's going one of two things. You either go, you need to fight off this intruder, get some sleep, or there's intruders around. Just lay down and figure out, like, don't go wandering into these things we don't know that are causing problems. They're all there for a very good reason. And we know, say, for the cold, when you take, like, even over-the-counter medications for, like, say, for congestion, it extends the problem, right? Like, we know that. Your symptoms will be decreased, but the cold is going to last longer. Now, I'm not saying don't take something for you. Do what you got to do, but you're making an informed decision, understanding why you're doing all these things, right? And I could go on about these things down the rabbit hole of forever, but I think we can get an idea that those things are all there, and they're all there for the right reason. If we use that as an example, another one is there's a condition, I one of these days I got to learn how to say the name right, but there's a genetic condition you can be born with where you cannot feel any pain, ever. You will never feel. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? The children, like, it literally kills people, right? Because think about a poor little 8-year-old. Every kid's jumped out of a tree and broken their ankle. They don't know about it until they go to step on it, and now that ankle's crumbled and the bone's sticking out, and they get an infection and die. Like, literally, everyone's touched the stove. Imagine you didn't know you touched the stove until you could smell your hand burning, right? Like, literally, these are what these things are all there for. Now, it's supposed to be proportionate and reasonable to the situation. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. So if I sprain my ankle, I shouldn't be limping around 3 years later, right? That's a disproportionate thing. We know healing in the body is like a 6-week cycle. So we know most injuries, barring some variables, you know, within 4 to 6 weeks, it should be functioning well. Within 4 to 6 weeks after that, it should be back to normal functioning, right? That's why when we see people that come in with major problems, we usually look at 12 weeks. Right? We want to take them through those cycles if that's their goal, right? So all of that being said, it's a way to think about it, because we're always thinking about, hey, something doesn't feel right, let's cover that up. Something doesn't move right, sound right, whatever the case may be. So what controls this whole system? Well, the autoimmune system will control parts of that. Yep, but what controls the autoimmune system? The nervous system. Charmaine gets a gold star. That is awesome. No, the nervous system, right? Everything in our body starts up in this thing, the brain. It does its thing. It sends signals down the brainstem, down the spinal cord, out to what we call the spinal nerves. They go off into everything. They control their glands, your organs, your healing, your immune system, all of those things, right? Your nervous system has this incredible ability to adapt. That's what learning is nervous system adapting. I have a 4-year-old, right? That child learns things way faster than I do. The things she picks up, because their brains are there's so many neural connections that are being made all the time. That's how our body runs everything, okay? So, given everything we've been starting to learn here, does it make sense that we want to make sure the nervous system is communicating as well as possible, right? Okay. There's 2 major ways it does that. One is you can actually have interference in the signaling system. So a nerve, when it gets stretched, it gets pinched. When you hear about people having sciatica, that's what it is. The sciatic nerve is being pinched. It's pinching the part of the nerves that controls sensations. It's called sensory nerves. That is about 10% of your nerves. The other 90% control your muscles, and they control what's called your autonomic nervous system, or your autonomic system, right? Your glands, your organs, your blood vessels, all of those things, okay? The other is, I call it the RAM of the body. So I know very little about tech. I know enough to know what I don't know, which is everything. But I know what RAM is. RAM in the computer is the thing that gives it the ability to do more things. That's, right? Your brain has a limited amount of RAM. And different things take that up. So your body's fighting off a cold. It uses up more RAM than it would be normally. Now it has less resources to do other things. All of that is controlled through our nervous system, okay? Now, the structure of our body is the next phase of how the nervous system actually works. So you've got this thing in your body. We all have it. It is, it's called our spine. Its job is to be 2 major things. 1, protect and manage your body's nervous system, and 2, be the mechanical and structural foundation of the entire body. Do we have any engineers or anything cool like that in here? Oh, that's no fun. Okay. So what happens is the structure of anything is what denotes its function, right? So if you have the axle on your car, okay, that axle, it's a straight line with wheels on the end. That's the function. It's going to turn like that. You bend that axle, is it going to function the same way? No, and everything works that way. So if you have a spine, and it's supposed to be, oh geez, this is not the best example anymore. It's supposed to be nice and straight up in that. We have 3 big curves, okay? 1 in the neck, it reverses the other way in the upper back, and then back down in the low back. We call those lordoses and kyphoses. You don't need to know that ever again. But you start changing this. A couple different things start happening. 1, it stretches, strains that body's nervous system, okay? Now, if I'm walking around like this, do you think that might cause some irritation, might cause some pain? It might, eventually, right? If you have a tiny little 1-degree bend on the axle of your car, are you gonna blow a tire today? No, it's gonna be, you're gonna blow a tire at 80,000, after 80,000 kilometers, it starts wearing away. Didn't even notice it for the first 20,000, and then the next 20,000, it's just like, oh, that's a little stiff or a little sore. By the time we start feeling things in our body, it generally takes about 60%, or sorry, you have to degrade down to 60% of normal before you typically start noticing anything, right? Now that changes a little bit in different systems, different areas of the body, different things like that. But in general, you have to lose that much function. So by the time you notice it, right, you're already way down the rabbit hole. Just like how, have you ever gone to the dentist and them not find plaque? Right? Have you ever felt plaque on your teeth? No, right? It's these things build up, but you probably felt that one time you didn't know you had a cavity, and then all of a sudden your tooth broke in 2, and you need a root canal, right? Right? Those are those slow build up. That is, oh, I threw out my back picking up a pencil. A pencil has not thrown out anybody's back. Right, it's the literal straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing in this analogy, right? Oh, you like that one, right? Oh, I thought it was me. Oh, man, that's no fun. That's no fun. But anyways, as a chiropractor, that's what we do, okay? Don't get me wrong. People come into our office with neck pain, headaches, back pain, sciatica, numbness into their hands, all that postural stress, especially kids nowadays. What do they get? Chromebooks now at like grade 4, is it, in Durham region? Like, it's crazy. Earlier now? Oh, what grade are they getting them now? Oh, that just makes me a little nauseous up here, you know? Like, that's just terrible, right? So what happens is we all go sit down at a computer, or our partner stresses us out like he does, right? You know what I mean? And all of those things start putting our body into a stressed state. It might be at a neurologic level. It might actually be at a mechanical level. Think about how many people walk around like this because they're all like tensed up. This is a really good spot to be if you're going to go spar in a boxing ring, right? If a bear is attacking you, this is a pretty good way to protect your vital organs. But it's not a way for our bodies to live, okay? And once those things start degrading, something is eventually going to give out, right? Typically, in this analogies of what we're talking about, it's neck pain, it's back pain. But those nerves that go off to your stomach, they go off to your energy. Those misalignments that are created through all these postural shifts, they take up massive amounts of RAM in the brain. Remember, we talked about that whole thing? Now, some people it's a little bit, some people it's a lot. That's the individuality. But it takes up all those different resources because our body wants things to be where it's supposed to be. And it doesn't like things not going the way it's supposed to. We can all remember back to like high school science and learning about homeostasis, right? The body is always going to want to go back to its normal. So what happens is you walk around, you got a crooked neck, you do this, and the body goes, I'm not supposed to be all crooked like this. Oh, I'm straight, right? That's where people start getting things like scoliosis as an example. Now, here's the thing. At a neurologic level, there's this major compromise happening because part of my brain is telling me everything's flat and easy. We're good. The horizon's level. We're good. I can go hunt for food now, right? The problem is the other parts of the sensory system are saying, but you're not straight up and down, but you're straight. No, this doesn't make sense to me. And it starts hitting the panic button. It takes up those resources in the brain. It actually starts shifting us into a more and more stressed state. Okay? As these things degrade, these things build up. You do that long enough, you have a joint not moving right for about 4 weeks, it starts the degrading process. Then we start going, oh, my neck hurts. You go get an x-ray taken and your family doctor tells you have degenerative discs. Nothing you can do about it. It's just old age. Does anything I've just said here sound like that's just a normal old age process? Degenerative discs don't hurt. Arthritis basically doesn't hurt. That's got a little nuance of a thing, but it's not in and of itself. It sensitizes tissue. It's just like how if I just keep doing this to you all day, every day, right? That doesn't really hurt. Eventually it does, right? And even if I finally get that, like everything gets raw, I stop rubbing it, right? I put a little lotion on there. Now it doesn't hurt. It's fine, right? But you got this big gash, right? Every time you touch, that's when you're walking. Oh, my hip grabbed me, right? Or I went to go grab something. Oh, my neck, and now I got a headache for a week, right? That is what we get to do as chiropractors. And chiropractors are kind of, in our world, one of the only professions that really look at things that way, right? Almost every other profession is, tell me what hurts, what's wrong, and we'll give you something to cover up that problem, right? There's people that dabble in like the more holistic situation, right? Naturopaths are amazing. Massage therapists can be kind of in the middle of all that. Some chiropractors practice in more of that therapeutic model. But at the end of the day, thinking about your health in this way is what you want. You always want to be thinking about what's going on, what's wrong. If I change all these things, what's the downside effect? If you have something happen, you get a cancerous nodule on your thyroid and they have to cut it out, you need thyroid medication. I'm not saying you don't. If you have this massive, huge amount of high blood pressure, you need to get that down. You should be doing things around it to bring it down on its own. But, not having a heart attack in the next year would probably be a good idea. You know what I mean? So I am not saying by any means these don't have value and usage. But if you want to optimize your health, you want to be as awesome as you possibly can be, you've got to really think about it from this perspective, regardless of what decisions you make of what to do, whether that be go to see a chiropractor, whether that takes medication, whether that be go to your family doc. I can go down a list of all those different things. You can look at therapeutic models. You can look at holistic models. Who really think, do you guys know the difference between like a holistic and a therapeutic model for care with people? Everyone hears these words. I just realized I use those words a lot. And I really bet most people don't. So I'm going to get those blank stares and make a guess. So a therapeutic model is you are treating a problem. Therapy treating, right? So if you had a big blister in the back of your heel from your shoes, right? A therapeutic model rubs a lotion on it, puts a Band-Aid on over it to protect it, something like that. A holistic model gets the shoe off and lets it heal up on its own, right? Not always the quickest, not always linear, but that is going to be what actually heals it up well. And that's going to allow the body to work the way it's supposed to. When we don't let the body work the way it's supposed to, we talked about this. It's just there's going to be a downstream effect, right? The more good things you do for yourself, the better off you are. It doesn't mean you might not need something. Like, that's what they're there for, right? Medicine is amazing. The surgeries people can do. I had a major knee surgery back when I was in university. At one point, I am going to need a new knee. I am very glad that is an option. I'm very glad they can put me to sleep while they do that. I'm very glad for things like that. But it doesn't mean I'm going to go out and just get a knee replacement because my knee's sore. You know what I mean? So that was a really long-winded thing. It's just we want people to live a better life. And that is, to me, the number one thing you need to be able to live a healthy, well-fulfilled life and all those different things. Okay, guys? With that being said, I'm going to steal this from you really quick. We do all these things. I'm not going to pretend we don't want to help all you guys too, right? But this is no pressure. We mean it. We do this altruistically. We love doing all of these. There is no pressure. You owe me nothing. There is no awkwardness. We do not need anybody to do it. But if you think you might want to get some help, there's this card on your table. I'm just going to walk you through what it is. The one side purposely put up with all these symptoms. And I usually walk around and everyone's sitting around chatting and everyone's got everything ticked off. If you want to get it checked out, figure out what's going on. We do the most thorough chiropractic assessment in the area, to be completely honest. I don't know any other offices that go as deep as we do. We look at alignment, how the individual little joints work. We look at how that affects the general structure of the body. We have a really thorough posture analysis. We do neurologic-based testing. We do x-rays as necessary, all these different things, so we can understand every different aspect. Because one thing that should become clear from all this, everyone's different, right? You don't know which thing is going to be yours. So we got to see, when you get out of alignment, does it cause pain? Does it cause neurologic stress? Does it change your posture even though you don't feel it? So if you do want to see what's going on, normally a new patient exam in our office is $149, okay, or starts at $149. There can be fees for x-rays and all that. If you register or sign up for a new patient exam today, it's only $49, okay? We do direct billing, we do all those different things, all that sort of stuff. All you have to do is take this little card and you fill out your name and contact information. Extremely clear, especially the email, right? The amount of times we lose track of people because everyone writes it down. There's no need to put a fake one down because we don't care if you don't want to come in. We'd love to help you. We're not like, out in a bar dating here, right? You don't have to give a fake number, right? We're good if you want to do it. Fill that out. Email being the most important thing. You'll get intake forms to fill out ahead of time. It'll be with myself or Dr. Brian. And if you do want to come on in, all you do, on the right side, it has dates and times between now and next Saturday. We're not in this Saturday with the long weekend, obviously, but we are in Monday, so that's a real convenient day, and all day, because it's not stat day. We got to help people. Don't give me that in there, Ashley. Circle that around. We will just simply come around and collect the cards. If you have this stuff circled, we'll schedule you in. If you don't, we'll take the card and say, I hope you enjoyed your dinner. Okay, guys? I'm going to be here for the rest of the time. Dr. Brian's going to be here for the rest of the time. The two smart people are going to be here for the rest of the time as well. Big round of applause and thanks for Amanda, wherever she is. I think she's still bringing you guys food. The DigiPix team here making me look less terrible on a camera, I really hope. Anyways, enjoy dinner, guys. We'll be around. Any questions, comments, concerns, please let us know. But otherwise, have a great dinner. Thank you so much for coming out, guys.